Hey everybody, Ryan here at etrailer. Today we're going to be checking out and showing you how we hooked up the Pollak medium duty toggle switch. The toggle switch is a really simple electrical component. You know, this one's going to be a single pole, single throw, so you just have on off for one thing you're trying to power up. And you can use this for a lot of different stuff. Being that it's medium duty, it's going to be able to handle 20 amps, which is quite a bit. But you can use it for lights, you know, radios, whatever you're trying to turn off and on, essentially. And that's exactly what I did here today on my boat. I hooked up some headlights, some LED lights on the front, and actually just replaced my old momentary horn switch. Because my original horn quit working, really expensive. I ain't gonna bother with it, so I utilized that wiring that was already there to power up my lights. So I needed a toggle switch like this, and this one worked out really well. And will allow me to turn them off and on. As far as, you know, the quality of this, it feels good in your hand. You know, there's a little weight to it. Don't feel cheap by any means. You throw the switch, feels tight, and everything else like that. You have brass terminals where you'll hook your wires up to. And I do like how they give you that on-off faceplate there. Just a nice touch. You can use it if you want, or you don't have to use it, so completely up to you. We do get a lot of questions, people wondering about the little rubber boots that go over the switch. You have the one that covers it completely, like that, and I'm actually going to use this for my own, just to keep the weather and stuff off it. And then there's some half ones too that you can push through there and do that. This one is definitely tight, but it will work, and you can thread it on there. So if that's something you're interested in, you can always grab those boots here at etrailer. You get some people asking about dimensions to make sure it'll fit with their particular application. So we'll go over a few measurements here. In terms of the length of it this way, it's going to be about 1 1/8 of an inch, roughly. If you go from just the body of the switch there, it's going to be about 5/8. If you add the terminals that come down off of it, that's going to be about 1 inch. And as far as the width here, that also looks like it's going to be just under 5/8 of an inch. Other than that, you know, at the end of the day, a good general purpose switch is going to work for a lot of different stuff. And in terms of getting these hooked up, pretty easy. You know, you just got 2 wires you need to hook up and mount this up. But we'll go ahead and put it up, hook it up on this boat here today, and hopefully that'll give you some direction. To get the switch installed, you know, everyone's setup is going to be a little bit different, but for the most part, it's going to be straightforward. You know, you'll have 2 wires that you need to hook up and a spot to mount up the switch. In our case, since we're just replacing an existing switch, everything's really easy. Don't really have to route or run any wires or drill any holes or anything, since we already have it, you know, like I said, existing in our switch panel. But with that said, we're going to be working right here in this area. First, going to kind of prep our switch, I guess you could say. So there's a locking ring on it that'll actually secure it to our panel. But we'll take that off and set it to the side. And then we have this on-off placard here too, which will take off, and on the bottom there's going to be a groove here, a keyway where that placard goes. So when we do mount this up eventually, we want this to be facing down, if you want the off position to be downward, right? So just keep that in mind. But then if we look at the back side of the switch, we're going to have our terminals here, and there's just some screws. Pull them out. And I'm going to take my existing wiring and hook it up. So these are going to need small ring terminals like that to get this hooked up. You can always grab them in etrailer if you don't have them. And just from knowing in the past, I'm going to put this wire here. Take our screw, pretty small here, get our screw in there, tighten it down, connect that ring terminal to the post there. And I want to mention, if you go to get this all hooked up and you test it, and whatever you're trying to power, isn't correct. So what I mean by that, if you go to turn it on, you know, and whatever you're trying to power actually turns off, and vice versa, you could just take the wires that you have them hooked up and switch terminals, you know. So you could take this one, put it up here, and that'll correct it. So just something if you run into that. But we'll go ahead and do the same exact thing here with our other terminal to get this wire hooked up. Now we can take our switch and push it through the opening in my panel here. Get it positioned how I want it. We'll take our on-off indicator, slide that into place, then simply take the nut and tighten it down. With that done, good idea to test it, make sure it's working properly. So I'll turn my master power on, and in the off position, my lights are not turned on, but when we push it up, we should get power to them. And that'll finish up our look at of the Pollak medium duty toggle switch.